outside is frightful, but Jizzo's videos are so delightful. What do you think? I'm getting into the Christmas season, dudes. I am going into an anti-Scrooge mode right now. Shropel Jizzo here. In the thick of it, right now, I am working on my new record, recording it. I'm okaying drum tracks. I'm laying down lead vocals. I'm in the thick of it for my new record, tentatively titled Now, being your own producer is easier now in the modern age because most records can be done in different locations or different studios, or actually not even in studios at all. Records are done in people's bedrooms now. It's very strange. This is, however, very freeing for the artist and obviously 10,000 times cheaper. Studio rental per hour is expensive. Throw in an hourly engineer wage, outside producer, shit adds up. So why not be your own producer? So being your own producer is an easy thing in theory, but to be able to discern good from bad or terrible from really shitty, you need skills, you need experience, and most of all, you need instinct. Instinct. Now we're going to get muso now, people. Word of warning, no fart jokes today. For any musician out there who's making his or her own record or is interested in producing, this might interest you. So here we go. Now for any artist that wants to take on the mantle of producer, what exactly does a producer do? Well, he does everything. He okays all the music, he hires and fires the musicians, he sits in on the mixing of the record and gives suggestions or make changes. He okays the final mixes. Then when it gets mastered, he has to okay the mastering. Now, if the band is making a hard copy CD, the producer will create the CD package himself, or he'll pay someone to make it. The art, the layout, the cover, the title, all of it from start to finish. It's a lot to take on, and producers aren't always right 100% of the time. Trust me, they're people, and people can make mistakes. That's the major difficulty in being a solo artist. At the end of the day, you've got no one to blame but yourself if your record sounds like shit. Generally, you start with a demo, either a group effort, or in my case, all the parts, guitar, bass, drums, and vocals played to a drum machine track that I have created on GarageBand. Okay, drums are very important, almost the most important. They not only create the template for your song, but they create the vibe for your song. Too fast, too slow, too busy, not busy enough, it all matters. So you want to hire someone who's not only competent, but ideally has his own studio to record in. That way you cut out the middleman and your drummer can freely cut your tracks without having to be on the clock in some stranger's studio. Now my drummer will take my rough drum machine mix, listen to it 100 times, and then we'll get on the phone and we'll have a conversation. Do you want it to sound exactly like the drum machine? How much leeway do I have? Are you married to this part? If you trust your guy and he's worked with you before, like my guy, you can let him do his thing within the framework of the general arrangement of the song, of course. Sometimes you don't know exactly what you want, and you need your drummer to play around with a few ideas to help you figure things out. So I've had this problem with a few parts on my new record, specifically one song. I'm searching for something, and maybe what I put down on drum machine, I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's exactly right. I'm not exactly sure. You see, there's the human factor. You know, what would a real drummer do? How would a real drummer interpret this part in this song? You might say, I want this chorus to sound like Rage Against the Machine, or Blink-182, or John Bonham, or maybe do something Ramonesy. You're trying to convey to your drummer what you want, but you also want him to take your song to the next level. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I have this song called You're Gonna Burn. It's my new song. Now here is what I did on Drum Machine for the pre-chorus going into the chorus.
How does it feel right now? I bet it feels real good.
Got it? Now here's what my drummer sent me. Here's one take.
You're the king of the world. How does it feel right now? I bet it feels real good.
Okay? Now here's another take. Listen to this one.
You're the king of the world. How does it feel right now? I bet it feels real good.
Now they both sound good, right? They both sound good, but they're slightly different. There's a couple of different things. There's a different kind of fills. There's different feel. So what you want to do, if your drummer lives in another city, which mine does, you want him to send you, I don't know, if he can, 6 or 7 or 8 different takes of a song. And then by listening carefully, you'll be able to zero in on 1 or 2 particular takes that you're gonna like. So see, this is where the instinct part of it comes in. You're making decisions by feel, by feel. All the tracks are good that he sent you. They're all doable, but which one is better? Which one rocks you? Which one moves the song forward? Now, one advantage of our current technology is that once you focus in on one track, say I like track 19, you can go in and you can fix tiny things. See, all of his takes will be sitting on a grid on the computer, on Pro Tools, side by side. And so if you want to hear a different fill going into the second chorus, or maybe you want to take something out and cut the arrangement, you can just do it. You can just do it on Pro Tools. He can cut and paste very easy, because now you have the song played for the first time with a real drummer. And it changes how you look at the song. You can start to see the song in the bigger picture now, and you can play around with things. Instinct, experience. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys would sometimes take months to finish a song because he only had a vague idea of what he wanted when he went into the studio. He'd go into the studio with an idea not yet finished, and then he would take all those Wrecking Crew guys, and they would work on the song for months and months. See, they didn't care because they were getting paid by the hour, but the band guys like Mike Love and stuff, it would just be frustrating as because he didn't know what he wanted. Wouldn't it be nice? Took months to finish. They rewrite it, they re-record it, and then they would re-record it again because it wasn't right. Good Vibrations, that masterpiece song, took 6 months to finish. Can you imagine? 6 months going over cello parts, going over drum parts, going over vocal parts, and he didn't know what he wanted, and it would drive everyone crazy. But then finally, after 6 months, he got what he wanted, and it's a masterpiece. Okay, so when you finally pick the drum track that you like, you might want to fix a few things. You don't want to go major surgery. You want a performance. In any type of music, you want a performance. Singing especially, you want a performance. You want it to sound like you sang the whole song in one take. When I'm singing vocals, I usually do 3 or 4 complete takes of the song, and then I pick the best one. And when I do pick the best one, I will go in and I'll fix a up word or 2, but I want to keep the performance intact. That's the most important thing. The energy, the vibe. It's more important than perfection, trust me. Now I know what you're thinking. Jizzo, I'm just starting out, but I don't have the experience that you speak of. I get it. I've talked about having instinct, and obviously that comes with experience. I've made a bunch of solo records, and I've also sat in on the mixing of all those old love-hate records, so I watched Tom Werman and I watched John Jansen do records. But when it comes to producing, I'm not perfect either. I have f***ed up. Yes, it's true. Your old pal Jizzo has made mistakes. I'm owning them right now on YouTube. Just like in life, you have to learn by failure. You see, I've made finished songs where the vocal sat too high in the mix. That's a common amateur mistake. In hindsight, of course, listening to the record now, I realize I wasn't experienced enough as my own producer to figure it out, to realize that the vocals were too high. As a producer, you're free to make your music sound any way you please, but that also means you're totally free to screw things up. Wanting yourself louder than anyone else is a common thing. You know, drummers want their drums louder. Guitar players will layer 20 guitars on songs to make their guitars bigger. You know, I was paying someone for studio time. I was the client, and the engineer will do what you tell him to do, basically. If you tell him to bring the vocals up, he'll do it, even though he knows it's probably not the right thing to do. And of course, you can't go back and fix what you did 20 years ago. It's done. It's done. You just have to live with it and learn from it. So I've chosen track 19, say, and I'm gonna go with that one. For some reason, that track moves me, and I don't know why, but it just does. So I'm going to go with my gut feeling. This is what a producer will do. A producer a lot of times will go with his gut. He'll go with his vibe. Why is this take better than the other one? Why is this vocal better than the other one? It's just a gut feeling, man. You know, maybe what I like isn't what you like. Maybe you like your music heavier, more modern. See, I don't care for that shit. I don't like the too compressed, too brash mixes. I like organic drums. I like real drums. As I said, I'm also doing lead vocals right now. I'm almost finished, actually. So I go into my man cave. I make sure that I'm on an empty stomach, because you always want to sing on an empty stomach. Now, I usually don't get anything resembling keeper vocals on my first day. You see, my voice is opening up. And more importantly, I need to reacquaint myself with all these songs that I wrote months and months ago, because I've forgotten them, basically. So I need to wrap my head around the song, and then I can sing them confidently. So you got to put the phone away, you got to put the YouTube away, you got to turn everything else off, and you got to get into the moment. So the first day, nothing. But you're singing, you're learning the songs again. So on the second day, you're actually singing better. You're hearing better too, because now you're in the headphones for hours and you're focused, so you're singing in key more. Your phrasing gets tighter. The song is becoming familiar again, like when you wrote it. It flows. You're singing with confidence. So you sing 4 complete vocal takes, then you zero in on the one that you like, and maybe you put a little $sign on it. You mark it. So when you go back to it, you're going to remember that that's the one that you really like. So now you go in on that vocal track that you have marked, and you fix a word or two. You know, you want to keep the total integrity of the track, maybe a couple of words here and there that you want to fix that sound funny. I keep stressing the importance of the performance. The performance is the most important aspect. Don't think Dream Theater perfection sterile. Think Led Zeppelin. Think vibe. The lyrics weaving in and out of the instruments. Nothing clashing. Everything fits together magically. And when it does work, it's totally magical. It's totally fucking magical. Even now, years later, when I make these rough mixes, or if I write a cool part, I'll smile, because it all comes together. You don't know where you get these things. They come out of the air, but when they get put together perfectly, it's magical. Then, when you got your vocals and you got your drum track and you're comfortable with them, your guitar player will join in. Same thing with the bass player. All of them will listen to the song and they will add their input. All of them will contribute to the making of the song, the finishing of it, to make it better. Oh, and here's a little suggestion. Go with the Marshalls. Record with Les Pauls. There's a reason that everyone uses them, because they sound good. There's some YouTube videos of the 2 guys from the band Steely Dan. It's interesting to see how they made their music. You know, they really didn't have a band as such. They just sort of hired guys to interpret their music. So the two Steely Dan guys are talking about the recording of their classic record, Asia. They went through a dozen different guitar soloists and they picked one, but they let you listen to some of the versions of the guitar players. You know, everyone is taking a crack at the solo for their song Peg. And all of them are technically really good. Some of them are a little noodly, but then, I don't know, you hear Larry Carlton's solo and it just seems to magically fit right in. That's the one they picked. And you just know that they knew that it was the right one. It's a feeling, man. It's a feeling, and there's that instinct again. You know, the other guys were good, but it just wasn't right. But what is right? You know, it's all subjective. It's your record. You should have a solid idea of what you want it to sound like or who you want it to sound like. You know, of course you want it to jump out of the speakers, but in a Led Zeppelin 70s way or a modern Korn way, I don't know, it's your music. You got to figure it out. You have to know what you are striving for musically, or you're going to spend countless hours and weeks stuck in the weeds searching for something that you may never find. You know, it's a process. It's never perfect. It's always the search, trying to get it right. Speaking of trying to get it right, I need to get back to working on my own record. So I hope this was helpful. It's your old pal Jizzo, rockin' and rollin', and we'll see you next time.